truly a Mahatma as described by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. The Mahatmas are always working under my direction of my internal energy, end quote. In spreading Krishna consciousness, Srila Prabhupada was far from merely a religious zealot trying to increase a sect. His writing, travelling and preaching were done in pure devotion to Lord Krishna and were therefore transcendental. It was Krishna himself, Srila Prabhupada saw, who was bringing the results. Lord Chaitanya has stated, Pravitya achi yatya nigarahi grama savatra parachara habi moranama. In every town and village the telling of my name will be heard. Srila Prabhupada ki. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're continuing 4th canto, chapter 3, entitled Talks Between Lord Shiva and Sati. So I'm going to do texts 8, 9 and 10. Sati uvacha pratapsti savarasapram niyapti yagna mahotskali vayam cha trabasrama vamati yadatami vibud rajahi. Translation. Sati said, My dear Lord Shiva, your father-in-law is now executing great sacrifices, and all the demigods, having been invited by him, are going there. If you desire, we may also go. Purport. Sati knew that the tension between her father and her husband, but still she expressed to her husband, Lord Shiva, that since such sacrifices were going on at her father's house, and so many demigods were going, she also desired to go. But she could not express her willingness directly, and so she told her husband that if he desired to go, then she could also accompany him. In other words, she submitted her desire very politely to her husband. Text number 9. Tasmin bhagyena mama bharata swakahir durvam gamsyanti duradrik svaha aham cha tasmin bhavat bhakamye sahopatam braham atum. Translation. I think that all my sisters must have gone to this great sacrificial ceremony with their husbands, just to see their relatives. I also desire to decorate myself with the ornaments given to me by my father and go there. Will you too participate in that assembly? Purport. It is a woman's nature to want to decorate herself with ornaments and nice dresses and accompany her husband to social functions, meet friends and relatives and enjoy life in that way. This propensity is not unusual, for woman is the basic principle of material enjoyment. Therefore, in Sanskrit, the word for woman is stri, which means one who expands the field of material enjoyment. In the material world, there is an attraction between woman and man. This is the arrangement of conditional life. A woman attracts a man, and in that way, the scope of material activities involving house, wealth, children, and friendship increases. And thus, instead of decreasing one's material demands, one becomes entangled in material enjoyment. Lord Shiva, however, is different. Therefore, his name is Shiva. He is not at all attracted by material enjoyment, although his wife Sati was the daughter of a very great leader and was given to him by the request of Brahma. Lord Shiva was reluctant, but Sati, as a woman, the daughter of a king, wanted enjoyment. She wanted to go to her father's house, just as her other sisters might have done, and meet them and enjoy social life. Here she specifically indicated that she would decorate herself with the ornaments given by her father. She did not say that she would decorate herself with the ornaments given by her husband, because her husband was callous about all such matters. If my wife was here, she would be going, yes, you too, Marumangala, were callous about these matters. I was very poorly performed in that area as far as giving my wife ornaments. So my big forgiveness from my wife for being so callous. Sorry? She made sure I knew about it too. All glories to her. I'm not running her down at all, because as we're hearing here, this is the nature of the lady. So all glories to you, ladies. All glories to you. So she did not say that she would decorate herself with the ornaments given by her husband, because her husband was callous about all such matters. He did not know how to decorate his wife and take part in social life, because he was already in ecstasy with thoughts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. According to the Vedic system, a daughter is given a sufficient dowry at the time of her marriage, and therefore Sati was also given a dowry by her father, and ornaments were included. It is also the custom that the husband gives son ornaments, but here it is particularly mentioned that her husband, being materially almost nothing, could not do so. Therefore, she wanted to decorate herself with the ornaments given by her father. It was fortunate for Sati that Lord Shiva did not take the ornaments from his wife and spend them for ganja, because those who imitate Lord Shiva in smoking ganja exploit everything from household affairs. They take all of their wives' property and spend on smoking, intoxication, and similar other activities. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. I was going to do just the next verse because it's all interwoven. So the last verse is translation. My sisters, my mother's sisters and their husbands and other affectionate relatives must be assembled there. So if I go, I shall be able to see them, and I shall be able to see the flapping flags and the performance of the sacrifice by the great sages. For these reasons, my dear husband, I am very much anxious to go. Purport. As stated before, the tension between the father-in-law and the son-in-law persisted for a considerable time. Sati, therefore, had not gone to her father's house for a long while. Thus, she was very anxious to go to her father's house, particularly because on that occasion, her sisters and their husbands and her mother's sisters would be there. As is natural for a woman, she wanted to dress equally to her other sisters and also be accompanied by her husband. She did not, of course, want to go alone. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Jananjana Salakaya Chakshu Ummilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and by the mercy of my spiritual master, he is kindly forcing open my eyes. With the torchlight of transcendental knowledge, I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prasthā Bodhale Srimati Tamal Krishna Goswamin Iti Namane. So this is like a very sad, for Sati. I can sympathise, her feelings. We're hearing about, she's heard the planes going overhead, and she knows what's going on. So she's approached her husband, and very much according to the Vedic system, she is, saying, if you desire, we can go. She's not putting forward her, I want to go sort of thing. She's presenting it to him, that if you desire, we may go, and I can decorate myself nicely. So she's thinking in this way. So, she's not doing any wrong. She is on a woman's body, and this is all very natural for a woman, and we can see this whole pastime is being played out by the will of providence. So, we cannot point the finger and make anybody wrong here. She is fully within her rights to have these feelings. And as we will see in up-and-coming verses, these feelings are very, very strong and so powerful that she goes against the instructions of her husband. And it's not that she does that willingly, it's still very unwillingly that she is doing this, because she is driven by the qualities of the ladies. They want to gather and talk and dress nicely, and that. So it's all very, very natural. There is no real wrong here. And we are hearing also here about how Lord Shiva is, we understand, Vaishnava, Shambhu, he's such a great elevated soul, but he's aloof from all these material things. He's on the transcendental platform. And we can understand from, Daksha's vision, of looking at Lord Shiva. You look at Lord Shiva and you think, oh my God, here is a personality smeared in ashes from the crematorium. He's got a garland of skulls. But the way he conducts himself is totally different from the way he looks. He is conducting himself so correctly. Yes, he is easily angered, but he is also very easily pleased. And we can see previously when he was being criticized by Daksha, he just calmly got up and left. He did not react. He was not affected by the whole situation. He just very calmly stood up and left the arena. He was not about to speak or exhibit anger. Although his followers did, they cursed, and we understand there was curses and counter curses, and it got all really messy. But as far as Lord Shiva goes, Vaishnava Shambhu, he exhibits the exalted qualities of the Vaishnavas. So he is, tolerant, submissive, friendly, kind to others, and all these qualities are there for Lord Shiva. Although he looks very, well, I cannot say because I have not had his darshan, but from the descriptions that we hear of Lord Shiva, your mind would immediately, when we see somebody, we judge them straight away. We see somebody dressed in a certain way, we judge, whether they're dressed very opulently or dressed very raggedly, straight away our mind concludes, oh yes, I know what this person is like, just by looking at them. But this is a big mistake that we have. We see somebody, we should not let the mind jump to its conclusion, which it's very expert at doing. This is another tendency that we all have in the material world, is the propensity to criticize. Whether we see somebody rich or somebody poor, we'll still criticize. If we see the rich, we'll think, oh, he's just inherited it all. Look at him, he's just strutting around, showing off his opulence. And if right away we have this envy, that comes up within our heart. We'll see somebody rich and we'll straight away the mind will start concocting all these criticisms and the envy will come in. And in this way, we are doing ourselves a disservice. Although it is natural, it's a very natural thing in the material world to do like that. So we're being given so many instructions and guidelines on how to conduct ourselves and, ultimately, give up this propensity to criticize others, even within the mind. Although in this age of Kali, we can criticize people within our mind and there's no reaction. So our minds are rascals and we can see, within what is going on within our minds, but we are given some compensation in this age of Kali that we're not getting any karma for that, for the thought. It's only when we start speaking words and start acting that we get the reaction. So, we can sit and observe our minds and just think, my God, well, for myself anyhow, these minds are really in the Kali Yuga. We're very much affected so easily by so many external things. So we're told by Lord Chaitanya to tolerate these things. And by tolerating these things, we can get to the level, or we can start to get to the transcendental platform. By tolerating all the misgivings and everything that is going on with our minds and what is going on around us, we are told by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita to become detached. So now I'm just sort of trying to justify my incompetencies in my marriage because I was so detached from the situation. And I didn't give my wife, well, I did buy her jewellery in that one time when we went to Vrindavan because it was quite, well, I won't say it was cheap, but, we were newly married, so she had to get the gold earrings and the gold nose ring, and, we got all the bangles and jingle and saris and all those sort of things. So we did do that when we went to India. But for me, it just was not my thing. But hey, that's natural for a man as well. I'm a man, I'm not so much into dressing up elaborately. I was just quite happy to live a simple life. So, I've just lost my train of thought. So anyhow, we have to tolerate all these things. Tolerance is a big factor that we have to have in this world, but we also have to be understanding of the ladies. That they have these propensities, so when we get married, we have to provide for them, and then have the family gatherings and social functions so that they can get together and chatter away as they do. So all glories to the ladies. Like I say, no fault on their part. They are in these bodies, and we as men are bewildered by these bodies because of their beauty. And when they get dressed up and their kind words, and we understand that simply by the glancing of their eyes, we can be conquered. So this is what is going on in this material world. The men are getting bewildered by the ladies, and so the material world goes on. But for us as Vaishnavas, as devotees of the Lord, we are advised to become somewhat detached at some point. It's not that we need to do it straight away. We can become grihastas, and we can live a very happy life as a grihasta. But as the year 50 approaches, we are advised to become somewhat more detached and more absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, activities of Krishna, what Krishna is wearing, what types of flutes. I'm just presently reading Nectar of Devotion, and it very much goes into detail there, the descriptions of Krishna and how he attracts the ladies, whether it's through quarrels or whatever it does. Krishna has so many different ways of getting the gopis' attention. He might start a fight with them, or he might go and sit with them very quietly in the forest. There's 6 different types of ways that Krishna attracts the gopis. I can't remember them off the top of my head at this moment, but there are specific ways that Krishna goes about attracting the attention of the gopis. So these are the activities that we need to become more absorbed in as we get older. As our bodies start to wither and dwindle, the grey hair comes, we see our parents have departed. Our parents are dying, everyone around us, our elderlies are leaving. So these are indications for us to also address this issue that death is approaching. So the best way of dealing with this problem of death is to become like Lord Shiva, absorb ourselves more and more in the activities of Krishna, the descriptions of his, how he is dressed, what his activities are during the day, his interactions with the gopis, the killing of the demons. So that's why Srila Prabhupada translated this Krishna book very early in the piece of his translation work. He translated the 10th canto for us so that we would have the activity, the opportunity to remember, the Rasa Leela dance, the activities going on in Dwarka, the discussions with Rukmini, all these, and then the descriptions of the palaces within Dwarka. So all these descriptions are there given to us so that we can read them and absorb them and meditate on them. So this is really what we are trying to do, is fill our mind not so much with the envy and the hankering and the lamentation, which is again natural in this material world. We're hankering and we're lamenting constantly, but to become more equipoised in absorbing ourselves in the activities of Krishna consciousness. So all glories to Sati and her attempts to persuade Lord Shiva to go, but there was no way Lord Shiva was going to go back into that atmosphere where he was again going to be criticised by Daksha. But poor Sati, she had so much family affection, attachment to her sisters, and just the mere fact that there was an event going on so close to home and all the aeroplanes are going overhead, we're going to hear about how she became so overpowered by the desire to attend. It overtook her whole body. Even though Lord Shiva was saying, no, it's not good for you to go, we hear that she was, rapidly walking in and out of the house. She was very, very much agitated. And it got to the point where she was looking at Lord Shiva in a very angry way. And then that was it. She just stormed off and she was gone. So it's a very, there's a lot of lessons to be learnt from this interaction in itself, of how powerful the material energy is, how the desires are there, the attachments are there, and just the natural propensities of the ladies. They need to be catered for. But this pastime here is by the will of Providence, and it leads to great disaster. So we hear of many disasters within the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, and they're all there for our betterment and learning. So we just take these teachings. We try. We're not in any position whatsoever to judge and think that somebody has done wrong here. We just observe this situation, apply it to our own lives, and try to conduct ourselves accordingly. Okay, I'll just read these translations. Sati said, "My dear Lord Shiva, your father-in-law is now executing great sacrifices, and all the demigods have been invited by him, are going there. If you desire, we may also go. I think that my sisters must have gone to this great sacrificial ceremony with their husbands, just to see their relatives. I also desire to decorate myself with the ornaments given to me by my father, and go there with you to participate in that assembly. My sisters, my mother's sisters, and their husbands, and other affectionate relatives must be assembled there. So if I go, I shall be able to see them. I shall be able to see the flapping flags and the performance of the sacrifice by the great sages. For these reasons, my dear husband, I am very much anxious to go." Has anyone got any questions or comments? Yes, there is. Yes, there's already been one. There's already been one sacrificial arena where they went and Daksha's refused. Or Lord Shiva hasn't stood up, and so Daksha's given foul words, and then there's been cursing, counter-cursing. Lord Shiva's stood up and left, and then time has passed, and then Lord Brahma has instigated Daksha to do another sacrifice, so that this is number 2, and this is the second one. So, you could say, even Sati would be aware of the situation, but she is driven so much by these desires to see the family, to get dressed up, to go to this event. So we really sympathise with, her situation and what have you. So, but still, what is about to unfold is very. It's a tragedy, really, because she was not, she didn't follow her husband's instructions. You could really stand up and push that point, and, she should have followed her husband's instructions, and all ladies should follow their husbands. But no. That's not, we need to understand the will of providence is acting. So the will of providence is driving her. She could have just as easily just sat down, on some kusa grass and observed the planes going over and just sat there very quietly and meditated, because she is a great soul. But no, she was aroused by the whole event, so we have to sympathise with her, and lament, greatly that she was put through this tragedy, because what a way to go, she got so angry that she sits down and she just self-ignites, so that's a lot of anger to do something like that, so she was very much exhibiting the how do you put it? Just the pushings of the material energy. When you're in a woman's body, you get pushed in a certain way, and when we're in men's bodies, we get also pushed in certain ways. So we're in different bodies, we're experiencing material energy in different ways. But we just have to sympathise with each other, that you're in that body, I'm in this body, and it's not easy in either situation. So we just sympathise with everybody in this material world. This is the compassion that the devotee has. He sees everybody's predicament, and he is very respectful for everybody's situation, understanding how difficult it can be to control the pushings of the material energy. The material energy is so much stronger than us. That's why we have to approach, Guru, Sadhu, Sastra, the deities, come here, prostrate ourselves, and beg for the mercy that we are somehow or other able to control ourselves. Otherwise, we've got no way of controlling ourselves. It's only by the mercy and the instructions and, the prasadam, all the things that purify us, chanting the holy names. There's so many things that will purify us and it will help us overcome these great obstacles that we have to overcome in this material world. So yeah, we're grateful we've got this process. And I guess if we realise how powerful this process is, we're thinking, oh, we've got to chant our rounds, but such a, you could start talking about the glories of the holy name, and you could go on for decades just talking about the glories of the holy name, the power of the holy name, how we approach the holy name, serve the holy name, hearing, and things like this. So we've been given such powerful, I was going to say instruments, but such powerful energies, and even like we could say with the holy name, it's like direct association with Krishna through his name, if we are able to perceive that. So we've got so many tools at our waiting for us, to use. It's just that we are bumbling our way through. We're still in a lot of ignorance. So I'm thinking for myself anyhow, still so much ignorance is there that I'm not taking full advantage of the tools that are available to us, and namely Krishna's association through his holy name. We can have Krishna with us at any moment if we approach him, calling out to the Lord. That's where prayer is such a wonderful thing. You just simply start praying and swaha, the Lord is present. Yet we may not perceive it, but this is the reality, that as soon as you start to go, my dear Lord, straight away the Lord is there, because he is our dearmost friend. He's, so kind and loving and seated within our hearts. So as soon as we start to pray, the Lord is right there. So it's up to us to take up this activity more seriously of praying, because basically that's what Lord Shiva is doing here. He's sitting there in trance or on a transcendental platform. So he is like praying and associating with the Lord on that platform. He has given up all the illusory things that we hear about from the very beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is explaining that this whole material energy is just an illusory thing. It's misconception, but yet we're identifying with it. So there's so much to be learnt. So that's why we come and hear Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of devotees. It's not that I can do this by myself. By sitting here in the association of the devotees, we're able to hear of these activities and take lesson from them. And there's so much, like you said, there's so much to be taken from these examples that are going on here. Husband, wife, material energy, criticism, controlling the tongue, judging others, external. There's just so much to be taken from this. So we should take it and learn from it. Okay, I'll leave it there. Oh, yes? Yes.
If your mind is, your explanation, thank you, it's a nice pass. I think your explanation of the female energy and the male energy is, very prevalent, and it's, we all have ownership of containing our energy in the right way as well.
Yeah, it's true, because what do we know about that person? But the mind, we're so expert at it, as soon as we see somebody, it's like, oh yes, yes, I know this person, but we don't know anything about this person. So yeah, but yes, by praying and approaching Krishna, it's the best way. He's our dearmost friend. Yes, he is the Supreme Personality, Bhagavan, and the topmost personality, but he is also so sweet and forgiving and kind and understanding, and he's got all these wonderful qualities, and he's right there within our hearts. So we are so fortunate to be blessed with it. We've just got to realise it, and that takes a lot of work, to get those realisations, but they come very easily if you're in that submissive, prayerful mood. The Lord relishes that. He relishes your prayers, so if we're very honest and in our approach to the Lord, He's more than happy to give us a lending hand, without a doubt. But still, calamities will still come, and they will befall us, and we understand from Queen Kunti's prayers. She enjoys the calamities because it keeps her more fixed on Krishna, So we may not be at such a level that we're saying, please, give me some calamities, give me some disease or some illness so that I can remember you. But these things do help us become more serious about our approach in Krishna. Yes?
What would you advise, or, I know this is quite a big question, in today's age when you've got children that are in their 20s plus, and as a society, the whole, females putting themselves out there in that way with boys is pretty full on, and trying to discuss that with your son can be, a bit of a challenging subject, just saying how important it is for females to have that chastity and have that respect for themselves.
Yes.
Advice-wise for our youth, it's
Yep.
we need to be advising both sides of things, really.
Yeah, it's very, all this, it is, we are in Kali Yuga and it's a very challenging time. I think the first thing that came to my mind is we teach by our example, because we can say so many things to our children and we can be almost hypocritical in the way we act. So we've got to conduct ourselves, and by our action, we understand action speaks louder than words, So really, that's really, my advice. Like for me, with my son, I didn't really preach to him a heck of a lot. It was more my actions that were my statements. And now, my statement now is I'm here. So it's a big statement that I've renounced everything and left it all and I've come here. So that's a really big statement. So whatever I would have said over the years, what I'm doing now is probably a bigger statement. So I think our actions are actually very powerful. There is that time for the teenagers where it's very difficult for them to maintain their chastity and what have you, and you can say so much and do so much and try and arrange, that they're with their friends, the girls are with the girls and the boys are with the boys and do so much. But then there's the will of providence, and then there's all their karma and so many other things that we cannot control. No matter what we do, we can be like a parent and try and lock them up, to try and protect them. But you cannot change their destiny, and their path has already been laid out from the time they took birth. Their story has already been sort of foretold. So us as parents, there's a point where you've said all you can say, and you've got to let go at some point and just be the best example and ultimately pray to the Lord for their protection. So it is a very challenging time for parents in this age, without a doubt. I went through it with my son, seeing what he got up to as a teenager, and luckily he got his ass kicked, very much by the material energy in those early days as far as intoxication and that one, when he really got hammered. And, he nearly, I won't say he nearly died, but he had a couple of bad experiences, and that was like Krishna's arrangement, it was like a blessing that, okay, I'm not going to try that again, because of the result. So, everyone's got their path that they've got to go down. So all we can really do is ourselves. All we can do is, like you say, we can be responsible for ourselves and how we conduct ourselves. So if we do that in a very Krishna-conscious way, a very understanding sort of way, but still we can, with our children, we can, let them know that we're disappointed if they're going off track or whatever, but we can also be understanding as well. You've got to have that understanding. Look, what were we like when we were teenagers? You just got to cast your mind back and think, oh my God. So, and now it's even harder for them. So they're in a very trying time. So just be the best example you can. I guess that's all we can do, isn't it, at the end of the day? And pray to the Lord that he may protect them. Oh, okay. Jai, we'll leave it there. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanandi.